Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, Senate Committee on Finance, Joint Subcommittees on Public Safety, Natural Resources, and Transportation. Would the committee secretary please call the roll?
Senators Wynn. Here. Titus. Here. Taylor. Present. Assembly members Anderson. Present. Brown May. Here. Dickman. Here. Hibbets. Here. Mosca. Here. And Chair Watts.
And I'm here. Thank you. We have all members present. Today we will be closing budgets for the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources as well as the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. We'll take public comment at the end of today's meeting. If you'd like to provide public comment by phone, the number to dial is 888-475-4499. And when prompted, provide the meeting ID 86981036-214 and then press pound. With that, we'll go ahead and get started.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. Good morning, members of the subcommittee. My name is Justin Luna, Program Analyst with the Fiscal Analysis Division with the Legislative Counsel Bureau. And I'll be walking you through the closing packet today that includes 12 total budgets. 11 of those are within the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. And the final budget is for the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. The first budget that we'll start with on page 3 of the closing packet is the DCNR Administration 4150 budget. It was heard by the subcommittee on February 11th. And this is the Director's Office budget account within the department. There are two major closing issues. The first one is a combination of decision units related to the centralization of department IT services that includes the addition of 3 new IT-related positions, the transfer of 23 existing IT-specific positions from other DCNR divisions, with adjustments in funding for the transferring positions to align with the department's IT cost allocation revenue, and also the reclassification of 4 of the transferring IT positions. Also, the governor recommends allocating general fund appropriations related to this issue to the budget accounts of the paying agencies within the department. I'll note that on the bottom of, I'll note that the net department impact of the recommended consolidation of IT staff in the administration budget, inclusive of the 3 new positions, the reclassifications, and the cost allocation adjustments, is an increase of $667,205, comprised of a net increase in general funds of $1 million. During the hearing on February 11th, the agency provided justification for the recommendation for the centralization of department IT staff within the director's office and the need for the recommended new positions. The agency indicated that the addition of the new staff within the department has been, that additions to the new to IT staff within the department has been limited over the years and currently does not meet the needs of the agency. According to the agency, the centralization is important to support the department's goals of improving processes through modernization and streamlining processes that improve efficiencies, increase public access and transparency, improve customer service, and eliminate backlogs. The agency indicated the recommended consolidation of IT personnel under the direct supervision of the director's office would optimize efficiency and resource allocation of the IT services. So also, as a note for the members on page 6 of the closing packet, fiscal staff identified a discrepancy between the transfer decision units and the adjustments in the funding sources related to those decision units. And we'll be working, we've worked with the agency on this, and fiscal staff recommends a technical adjustment to reconcile the transfers and revenue adjustments. Also, as a note for the members, if the subcommittee wishes to approve the new IT positions and the centralization of department IT services as recommended by the governor, it may wish to recommend issuing a letter of intent requiring the agency to report to the interim finance committee by July 1st, 2026 on the effect of the IT centralization on operational efficiencies, including any improvements in overall IT services department-wide, unanticipated challenges encountered in staff time tracking to ensure an appropriate cost allocation methodology is being used. The decision for the subcommittee is at the top of page 7 in the closing packet. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of the following items related to the centralization of department IT staff within the DCNR Director's Office, with authority for fiscal staff to make the recommended technical adjustment and other technical adjustments as necessary? 1. $559,799 over the 2025-27 biennium to add 3 new IT-related positions, including 1 new IT professional 3, 1 new IT technician 5, and 1 new geographic information system analyst 2. And number 2, a net increase in overall funding of $6.4 million. $6.5 million in Director's Office IT cost allocation and reductions in general fund appropriations of $22,295 and other funds of $21,005 over the 2025-27 biennium for the transfer of 23 existing IT-specific positions from other DCNR divisions with offsetting decision units in the contributing budget accounts within the department. And number 3, $64,109 over the 2025-27 biennium to reclassify 4 of the IT positions transferred in. And does the subcommittee wish to recommend issuing a letter of intent requiring the agency to report to the interim finance committee by July 1st, 2026 on the effect of the IT centralization on operational efficiencies, including any improvements in overall IT services department-wide, unanticipated challenges encountered, and staff time tracking to ensure an appropriate cost allocation methodology is being used.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Members, any questions on this decision item? All right, seeing none, I would accept a motion.
So move. I move the recommendations from as read by staff.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Chair Taylor, a second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna for the record. The second major closing issue for this budget account is the recommendation for a new human resources position funded with Director's Office cost allocation revenue of $134,282 over the biennium to add 1 new personnel technician position. The agency clarified during the budget hearing that the new position would support the needs of the entire department, and it would support the existing personnel officer position in the director's office to coordinate, to allow that position to coordinate with the existing human resources staff in the department's larger divisions to ensure consistency across the department. The decision for the subcommittee on page 8 of the closing packet. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of Director's Office cost allocation revenue of $134,282 over the 2025-27 biennium to add 1 new personnel technician position and associated cost as recommended by the governor?
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Members, any questions? Seeing none, I would accept a motion.
So move. I move the recommendation as read by staff.
Second.
We have a motion from Chair Taylor and a second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna for the record. This budget includes 9 other closing items. I'll note on other closing item number 8, on page 9, there is a requested technical adjustment to reconcile any imbalances in the corresponding transfers and revenue adjustments, and also note on other closing item 9, continues Appropriations Act language that has been included in the past to continue the conservation credit system and allow that funds to be transferred within the same budget account from one fiscal year to the other, with the approval of the Interim Finance Committee. Fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 through 7 be closed as recommended by the governor, other closing item 8 to be closed with the noted technical adjustments, and other closing item 9 be closed as recommended by the governor, and requests authority to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Seeing none, I'd accept a motion.
I move the recommendations as read by staff.
Second.
I have a motion from Chair Taylor, a second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna for the record. The next budget account in the closing packet is the Water Conservation and Infrastructure budget, 4159. And this was also heard by the subcommittee on February 11th. This was created with an allocation of $100 million in Federal American Rescue Plan Act funding for drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater grants, as well as groundwater rights retirement. It also was approved to have 2 full-time and administrative support personnel to help manage the program. There's one major closing issue, and it's a combination of several decision units that recommends a reduction in the federal ARPA authority and the transfer of the one existing administrative services officer position to the DCNR Director's Office Administration Budget account, and the elimination of one management analyst position that currently supports the program. So the funding that continues, that is recommended to continue in the executive budget, supports the 2 existing positions, and those positions are recommended to go through the end of March 2027, with associated operating costs and various contracts to continue the management of the program and the closeout of the grant funds. During the hearing on February 11th, the agency confirmed the expectation to expend the ARPA funds associated with these grants fully by the federal deadline of December 31st, 2026, and also indicated that the agency received confirmation from the Governor's Finance Office that federal ARPA funds can be used past the federal deadline to pay for personnel and administrative costs to close out the grant process until March 31st, 2027. The agency also clarified that the management analyst position recommended to be eliminated in the E499 decision unit should be eliminated effective March 31st, 2027, and fiscal staff requests authority to make this change as a technical adjustment to correct the position's elimination date. The governor's recommendation does not include any funding for project subawards in the 2025-27 biennium. In a follow-up request from fiscal staff, the agency indicated that it anticipates the unexpended balance of the ARPA allocation to be approximately $40.5 million at the end of fiscal year 2025, and expects to spend approximately $20.2 million in each fiscal year of the 2025-27 biennium for project subawards. Fiscal staff recommends a technical adjustment to revise the reduction in decision unit E499 to reflect $20.2 million in each fiscal year of the 2025-27 biennium in ARPA authority for project subawards that would be reconciled by the agency during the fiscal year-end closing process. Additionally, the agency provided information to further justify the need to transfer the existing Administrative Services Officer and related operating costs to the DCNR Director's Office Administration Budget Account effective April 1st, 2027, and also clarified the continuation of the Administrative Services Officer position in the Director's Office would assist with managing the complex arbitrage requirements for the Department's conservation bond and grant programs. The decision for the subcommittee at the top of page 16 in the closing packet. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of reductions in Federal American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Funds of $49.5 million in fiscal year 2026 and $49.6 million in fiscal year 2027, as recommended by the governor, and technical adjustments to reflect $20.2 million in each fiscal year of the 2025-27 biennium in American Rescue Plan Act funding for project subawards based on projected grant authority. The transfer of an Administrative Services Officer position to the DCNR Director's Office effective April 1st, 2027, the elimination of a Management Analyst position, and a technical adjustment to reflect this elimination effective March 31st, 2027, and authority for fiscal staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Members, any questions? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move the recommendations as read by staff.
I'll second that motion.
A motion from Chair Taylor, a second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna for the record. There are no other closing items in this budget, so we'll move on to page 17 is the next budget. In the closing packet, the Conservation Districts Program, budget account 4151. It was also heard by the subcommittee on February 11th. And this, the Conservation Districts Program works with the 28 locally elected conservation districts throughout the state on conservation programs. So one major closing issue, and that is to increase the funding for the annual Conservation District grant allocations. The governor recommends general fund appropriations of $14,000 in each fiscal year of the 2025-27 biennium to increase the annual grant allocations provided to each of the 28 conservation districts throughout the state. This increase would be $500 for each district per fiscal year, increasing the amounts per district per year from $5,000 to $5,500 beginning in fiscal year 2026. The agency explained during the hearing that each district determines how best to use the allocations to meet the needs within their district. The agency also indicated that given the wide disparity in the size and capability of some of the districts, which may limit their ability to spend or match increased funding, if a district does not spend their full allocation, then the remaining funds are reallocated by the department to other districts that may apply to receive additional funding. The decision for the subcommittee on page 18. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of additional general fund appropriations of $14,000 in each fiscal year of the 2025-27 biennium to increase the annual grant allocations provided to each of the 28 conservation districts from $5,000 to $5,500?
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Members, any questions? No deep concerns about the fiscal impact of this item? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move the recommendations as read by staff, Chair.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion from Chair Taylor, a second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna, for the record, there are 4 other closing items in this budget account. Fiscal staff recommends all other closing items be closed as recommended by the governor and requests authority for staff to make technical adjustments as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
So move as read by staff.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion from Chair Taylor, second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. I will now begin presenting the budgets which the subcommittee has not previously reviewed for the agency, DCNR, and for which fiscal staff is responsible for developing closing recommendations. I will pause following my presentation of each budget to allow for questions. When I have presented the last budget in this group and questions have been addressed, the chair may wish to ask for a single motion for closing consideration on all of the budgets for which fiscal staff is responsible for developing recommendations. So beginning on page 21, the Office of State Historic Preservation is the next budget account, 4205. And this is, again, fiscal staff is responsible for developing closing recommendations for this budget. SHPO, as it is often referred to, promotes the preservation, documentation, and use of cultural resources throughout the state and federal, through state and federal programs. There are no major closing issues. There are 6 other closing items. And just as a reminder, the closing recommendations for this budget are included on the summary page in the closing packet. Any questions on this budget?
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Any questions? Seeing none, let's proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna, for the record. The next budget is the Comstock Historic District, budget account 5030. And it supports the preservation of National Landmark District in and around Virginia City. There are no major closing issues. There are 4 other closing items. Any questions on this budget?
Thank you. Members, any questions? Seeing none, let's proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna, for the record, on page 25 of the closing packet, the account to restore the sagebrush ecosystem, budget account 4156. And this supports programs to preserve, restore, and enhance sagebrush ecosystems. It also includes the Conservation Credit System program, and funding in the account was initially provided through general fund appropriations provided by the 78th Legislature in 2015, and also an allocation from the Interim Finance Committee contingency account in fiscal year 2017. The Biennial Appropriations Act have authorized balancing forward the remaining balance of the initial appropriations, and Conservation Credit System habitat projects are currently supported through the utilization of these reserves. And it's the Conservation Credit System is one of the tools that it uses for this effort to support the sagebrush ecosystems. So there are no major closing issues. There's one other closing item that continues the Appropriations Act language, providing that the remaining balance of the appropriations do not revert to the state general fund. Any questions on this budget account?
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Members, any questions? Seeing none, let's continue.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna, for the record. The next budget account is the Environmental Quality Improvement, budget account 4160. And this was established to hold enforcement action funds resulting from remedial settlements assessed by the department's Division of Environmental Protection as a result of water control laws and air pollution law violations. There are no major closing issues and no other closing items. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move to the next budget account.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna, for the record. Account for off-highway vehicles, OHV, budget account 4285 is on page 29 of the closing packet. and it promotes the responsible use of recreational off-highway vehicles. It also awards grants for law enforcement, education and public awareness, OHV trail management and development, and the prevention of environmental and wildlife habitat impacts. There are no major closing issues. There are 4 other closing items. Any questions?
Thank you. Senator Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on the off-road vehicle allocations of the funds that they've collected, it would be great if they could send us perhaps a detailed list of where that money, who they allocated those funds to, and if they've been spended. They wouldn't be prepared to do that today, I know, but it would be nice to have.
Thank you. I think that's something that we can just have the agency follow up with us on. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move to the next budget account.
Thank you, Chair Justin Luna. For the record, the next budget account for DCNR is the Nevada Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, budget account 4166. And this supports annual meetings for the 7 Nevada members of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency's governing board. And it's managed through the Division of State Lands. There are no major closing issues and no other closing items. Any questions?
Thank you. Members, any questions on this item? All right, seeing none.
Thank you, Chair Justin Luna. For the record, the next budget on page 33 of the closing packet is the Nevada Natural Heritage budget account 4101. And this division collects information on the locations, biology, and conservation status on all endangered, threatened, sensitive, and at-risk plant and animal species in Nevada. And they are primarily funded with highway funds transferred from the Nevada Department of Transportation, because they work very closely with NDOT on projects. There are no major closing issues and 7 other closing items. Any questions on this?
Thank you. Members, any questions? Seeing none, let's proceed to the next account.
Thank you, Chair Justin Luna. For the record, and this is the final DCNR class staff close budget for the Division of Outdoor Recreation, budget account 4180. And the Division of Outdoor Recreation promotes outdoor recreation activities and develops the outdoor recreation economy in the state. There are no major closing issues. 6 other closing items. Any questions on this budget account?
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Members, any questions? All right, seeing none, let's move to our decision.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna again for the record. On page 37 is the decision for the subcommittee. As previously noted, fiscal staff is responsible for developing closing recommendations for the following budget accounts. To assist with the closing, fiscal staff has identified the budget accounts that are recommended to be closed as recommended by the governor and requests authority for staff to make technical adjustments as necessary. Fiscal staff recommends that the following budget accounts be closed as recommended by the governor and requests authority for staff to make technical adjustments as necessary. 4205 DCNR Office of State Historic Preservation, 5030 DCNR Historic Preservation Comstock Historic District, 4156 DCNR Account to Restore the Sagebrush Ecosystem, including approval of inclusion of language in the Appropriations Act as noted under the other closing item. 4160 DCNR Environmental Quality Improvement, 4285 DCNR Account for Off-Highway Vehicles, OHV, 4166 DCNR Nevada Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, 4101 DCNR Nevada Natural Heritage, and 4180 DCNR Division of Outdoor Recreation.
Thank you. Last chance for questions. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the recommended closing of those budgets as read by staff.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion from Chair Taylor, a second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna for the record. And the final budget account in the closing packet for the subcommittee today is for the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. Now shifting away from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources into the separate Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. Budget account 4204. This budget account was heard by the subcommittee on February 11th, and TRPA operates through a bi-state compact between the state of California and Nevada. And I'll just note for the subcommittee, a reminder at the bottom of page 39, pursuant to NRS, TRPA is exempt from the provisions of the State Budget Act. Therefore, the following major closing issues fundamentally reflect the agency's requested budget and may differ from the recommendations in the executive budget. There are three major closing issues. The first major closing issue begins on page 40 of the closing packet, and this is the continuation of revenue transfer from the State Department of Motor Vehicles, Motor Vehicle Pollution Control budget account. The executive budget for TRPA continues the transfer of $419,021 in each fiscal year. However, this is contingent upon the approval of an enhancement decision unit in the transferring budget account from DMV, the Motor Vehicle Pollution Control budget account 4722. The DMV budget account was heard by the subcommittee on February 20th, and it is tentatively scheduled to close on April 23rd. Fiscal staff notes the continuation of this transfer revenue is included in the base funding in the executive budget for TRPA. However, based on projected revenue shortfalls to support the DMV and its air pollution activities, funding in the transfer to the TRPA was not available in the DMV's base budget. An enhancement decision unit is included in the executive budget for DMV pollution control budget account that, if approved, would provide funding to continue the transfer to TRPA. Fiscal staff notes the continuation of transfer of DMV revenue for this for the TRPA is contingent upon the approval of the enhancement decision unit in the DMV budget account, and as well as approval of legislation to increase pollution control fees to provide sufficient revenue for the transfer of this funding. During the budget hearing, the agency explained the potential impact to the TRPA's operations if the transfer of DMV revenue is not approved, indicating that the DMV funds are currently used for air quality monitoring. The agency also uses this funding to implement projects to improve air quality through regional programs such as the regulation of wood stoves, reducing vehicle use through bike trails and transit, increased street sweeping, and improving forest health. The agency emphasized that continued funding for the DMV motor vehicles pollution control budget account remains critical for TRPA to be able to continue monitoring regional air quality for planning and implementation of air quality programs and projects. The decision for the subcommittee on page 41 of the closing packet. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of the transfer of DMV revenue of $419,021 in each year of the 2025-27 biennium, contingent upon approval of decision unit E306 within the DMV motor vehicle pollution control budget account, and to provide fiscal staff with authority to make technical adjustments as necessary?
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Members, any questions on this item? Seeing none, I'd accept a motion.
Thank you, Chair. I move the recommendation as read by staff.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion from Chair Taylor, a second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna for the record. The second major closing issue in this budget account for TRPA is the enhancement for the continuation of their digital records project. And this is a recommendation for general fund appropriations of $250,000 in each year of the 2025-27 biennium to continue the project. Fiscal staff coordinate, during the February 11th budget hearing, the agency provided an update on the status of the records project. The agency confirmed this project is anticipated to continue beyond the upcoming biennium because of the large number of hard copy files that need to be digitized. The agency also emphasized its focus on improving customer service over time by providing this information to the public. The agency also provided an update on the status of the TRPA's budget request to the state of California, consistent with the Bi-State Compact. The TRPA indicates its requested funding for the California share of the project is included in the California governor's proposed budget, but that is not expected to be finalized until June 2025. So regarding California's share of the records enhancement, the record scanning enhancement, fiscal staff notes corresponding authority is not reflected in the executive budget and recommends a technical adjustment to add the authority. Also, fiscal staff coordinated with the governor's finance office during the adjusted base process to ensure that funding for the continuation of the records project should be included as an enhancement instead of ongoing funding in the base budget, since the initial allocation for this project was approved as one-time funding. The decision for the subcommittee near the bottom of page 42. Does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of one-time general fund appropriations of $250,000 in each fiscal year of the 2025-27 biennium to continue the digital conversion of the agency's hard copy files and records, with the noted technical adjustment to add California's share of the records scanning authority, and to provide fiscal staff with authority to make other technical adjustments as necessary?
Thank you. Members, any questions on this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move the recommendation as read by staff, Chair.
I'll second that motion.
A motion from Chair Taylor, second from Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna for the record. The third major closing issue for the TRPA budget is the funding for annual salary adjustments, and this is not reflected in the executive budget. The agency requests funding for annual salary adjustments that are not included in the executive budget. As previously indicated, the TRPA is exempt from the provisions of the State Budget Act, and this item was reflected in its proposed budget request. Accordingly, this item is being presented for consideration by the subcommittee as a separate decision. According to the agency, the request is similar to previous sessions to provide the TRPA staff with the same salary increases, if any, approved for all state of Nevada employees. However, the executive budget does not recommend salary increases for executive branch state of Nevada employees. As a note, for the record, fiscal staff is unaware of a prior biennium when the agency was legislatively approved for funding for salary increases for TRPA staff without equivalent salary increases for executive branch state of Nevada employees. During the hearing on February 11th, although the agency's request was preliminarily submitted with an annual 5% salary increase for TRPA staff, most of the recent legislative sessions funds have been approved so that TRPA employees the same cost of living increases as state of Nevada employees, which the agency confirmed is the intent of this request. In a follow-up request from the fiscal staff, the agency confirmed that if executive branch employees of the state of Nevada are not recommended to receive salary increases in the 2025-27 biennium, that the TRPA would not expect salary increase funding for TRPA staff. Just a note, for the members, final salary adjustment amounts are contingent upon approval of any cost of living adjustments for state of Nevada employees for the 2025-27 biennium, although none are recommended by the governor. If the subcommittee recommends approval of option 1 below, the funding would ultimately be considered through the pay bill and not be placed directly in this budget account. The decision for the subcommittee on the bottom of page 44, number 1, does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of general fund appropriations of $1.3 million over the 2025-27 biennium, which is $564,169 in fiscal year 2026 and $704,376 in fiscal year 2027, to fund 77.9% of a 5% salary increase for TRPA staff in the 2025-27 biennium, as requested by the TRPA in the pay bill, or number 2, provide proportional funding for the same increase for TRPA staff as provided by statewide cost of living adjustments approved by the legislature for state of Nevada executive branch employees for the 2025-27 biennium. So this decision is an option, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Members, any questions on this item? If not, I'll accept a motion.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the subcommittee adopt recommendation number 2 as read by staff.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and by Chair Taylor and a second by Assemblymember Brown May. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair. Justin Luna for the record. There are no other closing items in this budget account for TRPA, and so that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Luna. We appreciate it. That brings us to the last item on our agenda today, which is public comment. If anyone would like to provide public comment, either here in Carson City or down in Las Vegas, please come forward. Whenever you're ready, please proceed. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kyle Davis, and today on behalf of the League to Save Lake Tahoe, often referred to as the League or by our mission, Keep Tahoe Blue. Thank you for the opportunity to comment today on the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency's budget from the state of Nevada. The League was founded in 1957 to slow the rampant development that was causing our lake's famed clarity to decline. We are the oldest and largest environmental organization at the lake. One of the League's early accomplishments was the creation of the unique bi-state regulation charged with protecting the lake and ensuring consistent environmental protections throughout the basin. This became the TRPA. One of the things we do is continue to work with, support, and encourage our partners at TRPA in fulfilling their mandates and using their unique authority to help protect the lake's environment. No one benefits if TRPA is not an effective functioning agency. We need them for the basin. The lake cannot be protected without TRPA supported to meet their mandate to achieve and maintain Tahoe's environmental standards or thresholds and implement their regional land use and transportation plans. Support from this committee and the state of Nevada are critical to carrying out the mission that spurred the creation of TRPA, a sustainable future for a clear and healthy Lake Tahoe basin. Thank you for your support for Lake Tahoe and for the opportunity to comment on this budget today.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Seeing no one else coming forward in Carson City, seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to provide public comment by phone?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Yes, good morning. For the record, Fred Volz. Cal Matters an independent news reporting service akin to Nevada's Current, recently released an in-depth analysis of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. The study revealed many long-festering problems with the decisions and governance of TRPA, problems that have been repeatedly brought to the attention of TRPA's governing board, management, and committees, and this legislature's TRPA Oversight Committee over many years, and ignored. Excessive tourism, overdevelopment, an unwillingness to contain human trash that harms wildlife and the environment, high levels of microplastic pollution, construction of a convention center with inadequate parking, and insufficient evacuation routes in the event of another wildfire are some issues ignored by TRPA. Since the agenda for today's meeting calls for closing Nevada's budget allocation to TRPA, a more constructive approach would have been to withhold some percentage, perhaps 20% of Nevada's allocation, until TRPA demonstrates substantive action on these subjects. The same approach might be useful for state funding of the Clark County School District and NSHE, where legislative inquiries are dismissively treated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Pamela Sigdinis, a full-time Washoe Tahoe resident who volunteers with Lake Tahoe.
I'm sorry,
Grassroots
before you begin, can you spell your name for the record?
Yes, it's Pamela Sigdinis, P as in Tango, S as in Sierra, I as in India, G as in Golf, D as in Delta, I as in India, N as in November, O as in Oscar, S as in Sierra, and yes, I spell that name a lot. I'm a full-time Washoe Tahoe resident who volunteers with Lake Tahoe grassroots groups. I'd like to note that releasing budget without more accountability will further harm the lake's environmental health and further endanger residents, workers, and visitors. Tahoe lies in what's now widely recognized as a high-hazard wildfire area. TRPA has lost sight of its original mission in the Tahoe Compact to protect Lake Tahoe. Many affiliated with TRPA today are beholden to developer and business interests and have not done enough to prioritize public safety, wildfire evacuation, and Lake Tahoe's environmental health. Lake Tahoe more than ever needs really strong oversight that frees it from compromised, unacceptable, misguided political influence. Tahoe needs independent, science-based experts working full-time to ensure TRPA complete a basin-wide cumulative environmental impact analysis. The last was completed in 2012. We need to amend TRPA codes to include specific modern-day thresholds that reflect wildfire evacuation, tourism, human capacity, and traffic. Tahoe requires an accurate determination of how much more development and human impact Tahoe can safely accommodate today. We need to test for microplastics and examine and install filtration. Lake Tahoe's waters not only provide drinking water for residents and visitors, the water flows down the Truckee River through Reno and is the primary source of drinking water for Reno residents. The human and dollar costs of poor policymaking are immeasurable. I really encourage this committee to spend more time looking into what's really happening in Tahoe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ann Nichols, Nichols. I own several properties in Washoe County. I am a 54-year resident of North Shore and a 50-year Nevada, California real estate broker. I've built commercial and followed TRPA since the beginning. TRPA's budget has swelled from $1 million a year to now $30 million a year. I've been particularly following their opaque record keeping and agitating for more transparency. For instance, a huge portion of their budget goes to contracts with no detail. But there is never enough money. Now TRPA is going after Nevada with 4 different money grabs. Today's budget request The 777 plan, which requests $7 million more from Nevada each year, SB 420 and SB 426. SB 420 proposes to tax Tahoe businesses. SB 426 wants to change the compact to tax short-term rentals. There is no real oversight over TRPA. The Nevada Oversight Committee meets regularly. The TRPA is now being run by a PR professional. TRPA means well, but has taken on too much. They are over their skis. TRPA fails on project enforcement and policies that improve the lake. Expansion of TRPA's power is not the solution. Additional critical oversight is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to provide public comment.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time and attention today. This meeting is adjourned.